Okay, so you want to own a ranch. I completely understand. Honestly, it sounds like the absolute perfect escape. You watch a few seasons of Yellowstone, you put on a pair of expensive leather boots, and you imagine yourself riding a beautiful horse across thousands of acres of untouched, majestic land. You wake up with the sunrise. You breathe in the crisp, fresh air. You watch your massive herd of cattle grazing peacefully by a river. It looks like the ultimate peaceful exit strategy from the stressful modern corporate world. You just buy a massive plot of dirt, put some cows on it, let nature do all the hard work, and then you sell them for a massive profit. Nature is essentially printing money for you. Right? Wrong. What if I told you that almost everything you believe about how a ranch actually makes money is a complete Hollywood fantasy? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most romanticized, deeply misunderstood, and mathematically punishing business models on the planet. Before you even buy your first cow, before you even step foot on the grass, you're already stepping into a terrifying financial black hole. Let's look at the actual math. If you examine the financial blueprint, in the very first massive hurdle you face on the left is labeled land acquisition and development costs. In today's highly inflated real estate market, you cannot just buy 50 acres and call it a profitable cattle operation. To make any real money in the commercial beef industry, you need massive, sprawling scale. We are talking thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of acres. That means your initial real estate cost isn't a few $100,000. It is millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars. But here is the catch. Unlike buying a skyscraper or a shopping mall, this expensive dirt does not come with guaranteed rent-paying tenants. It comes with rocks. It comes with toxic weeds. It comes with broken water lines. And, worst of all, it comes with a completely unpredictable climate. You just spent $5 million on empty dirt. Now, you desperately need to make that dirt profitable. So you just go out and buy a massive herd of cows, right? It's just biology. They eat grass, they grow, you sell them. Simple. Well, this is where rookie ranchers learn their first brutal financial lesson, because a cow is not just a peaceful animal, it is a biological slot machine, and the house always wins. Think about a normal manufacturing business for a second. If you own a shoe factory, you buy rubber, you buy leather, you turn the machines on, and shoes come out. The price of rubber might fluctuate a few cents, but you can calculate your exact profit margin on a spreadsheet. It is entirely predictable. A ranch is the exact opposite of predictable. When you buy a herd of cattle, you are investing millions of dollars into fragile, living, breathing assets that are constantly looking for creative ways to get sick, get injured, or just randomly die. Look at the livestock costs. You aren't just paying for the animal. You are paying for massive veterinary bills, respiratory vaccines, ear tagging, and genetic testing. A single disease outbreak can wipe out 20% of your calves before they are even old enough to sell. But the cows themselves aren't even the most mathematically terrifying part. Let me ask you a very simple, logical question. What do cows eat? Grass? Right. And grass is free. It just magically grows out of the ground. Throw that logic completely out the window, because you cannot control the sky. Let's say you have a slightly dry summer. A localized drought hits your region. Suddenly, your beautiful, free green grass turns into dead, brown dust. Your multi-million-dollar biological assets are quite literally starving. So what do? You are forced to buy hay. But here is the ultimate trap, because every other rancher in your state is also experiencing that exact same drought. The price of hay skyrockets overnight. Suddenly, you are spending tens of thousands of dollars every single week just to keep your assets breathing. If you look at the food, supplies, and operating costs section, this is exactly what bankrupts people. Your perfectly calculated profit margin for the entire year can completely vaporize. Simply because it didn't rain for 6 weeks in July. You are entirely at the mercy of the weather, biological diseases, and global beef market prices that you have absolutely zero control over. You can do everything perfectly. You can work 18 hours a day and you can still lose a fortune. But wait, it actually gets much, much worse, because the cows and the grass, that is only half of the equation. To actually run the physical operation, you have to open your wallet to the ultimate silent killer of the agricultural industry. Let's look at the brutal operational reality of managing thousands of acres of land. If you look closely at the far left side you see a massive arrow pointing to equipment and machinery costs, and right below it, another one pointing to maintenance and utilities. These are not small suggestions. These are absolute financial sinkholes. To manage a modern large-scale ranch, you cannot just ride around on a horse with a lasso. You need heavy industrial machinery. You need massive John Deere tractors that can easily cost $300,000 apiece. You need balers. You need heavy-duty diesel trucks. You need specialized trailers. And what exactly happens to highly complex, expensive, heavy machinery when it is driven through deep mud, over jagged rocks, and left in freezing snow every single day? It breaks constantly. A single broken tractor transmission can easily cost $20,000 to fix. Think about that for a second. That one repair bill just completely wiped out the entire yearly profit of 20 of your best cows. Poof, gone, in an instant. And then there is the infrastructure. Do you know how you keep hundreds of cows from wandering onto a public highway and causing a massive multi-million-dollar lawsuit? Fencing. Thousands and thousands of miles of barbed wire fencing. Fencing costs thousands of dollars per mile just to build, and it requires constant, exhausting daily maintenance. Trees fall on it, wild animals break through it, the wood rots, the wire rusts. To maintain all this, you need labor and staffing expenses. But finding experienced farm hands, people who are actually willing to do back-breaking physical labor in freezing blizzards and blistering summer heat, is incredibly difficult, and their wages are becoming more expensive every single year. Add in the massive property taxes, the insurance, the skyrocketing diesel fuel costs, and suddenly, your highly romanticized, profitable cattle operation is bleeding cash from 20 different directions at once. This is the brutal, unvarnished truth of the ranching industry. The margins on actually selling beef are razor thin. Sometimes, after a whole year of grueling, bone-crushing labor, a rancher might only make a $50 profit per head of cattle. One bad winter, one severe disease outbreak can completely bankrupt a family that has worked that exact same land for 5 generations. So, let's pause and use our brains for a second. If the profit margins are this terrible, if the weather is this unpredictable, and if the equipment costs an absolute fortune, why on earth do billionaires keep buying massive ranches? Why are tech moguls, media tycoons, and Wall Street titans quietly becoming the biggest private landowners in America? If you drive past a massive, sprawling mega ranch owned by a famous billionaire, you probably think they just love the cowboy lifestyle, right? You probably think they just want a quiet place to ride their horses on the weekend. Think again. And this brings us to the biggest, most mind-blowing financial secret of the agricultural world. The wealthiest ranch owners in the world do not care about selling beef. To a billionaire, a ranch is not a farm. It is a massive, highly subsidized, deeply protected, tax-advantaged financial vault. Here is the ultimate cheat code they use. When a billionaire buys a $50 million ranch, they aren't looking for daily cash flow from cows. They are looking for 2 specific things: unstoppable land appreciation and massive tax loopholes. In many places, if you simply put a few dozen cows on your massive 50,000-acre estate, the government legally classifies your entire property as agricultural. This single magic word triggers a massive property tax exemption. A billionaire can own tens of thousands of acres of the most beautiful, prime real estate in the country and pay almost nothing in property taxes, purely because they have 100 cows chewing grass on it. The cows are quite literally just a tax write-off with hooves. But my friend, it goes even deeper than that. They use a brilliant legal mechanism called a conservation easement. The billionaire goes to the government and says, "Look, I promise I will never build a shopping mall or a housing subdivision on my beautiful ranch. I will keep it wild and natural forever. In exchange for that promise, the government hands them a massive multi-million-dollar charitable tax deduction. They take that massive deduction, and they use it to completely wipe out the taxes they owe on their real businesses on Wall Street or in Silicon Valley. And while they hold the land practically tax-free, they unlock the alternative revenue streams. You see on the far right side, they don't just sell cows, they lease the land to wealthy executives for high-end hunting trips, charging tens of thousands of dollars for a single weekend. They sell the timber rights. They lease out the water rights. They host exclusive corporate retreats. And year after year, decade after decade, the physical dirt underneath their boots becomes more and more valuable. 10 years later, that $50 million ranch is quietly worth $150 million. So, the next time you see a sprawling, beautiful ranch with a majestic wooden gate and cattle grazing peacefully in the distance, stop and look around. You aren't just looking at a peaceful piece of nature. You are looking at a highly leveraged, heavily protected, tax-free offshore bank account disguised as a cowboy's dream.